What is going on, people? So, I try not to make this my overall thing of the channel. But my religious views are a Christian. I try not to force it on anyone. I try not to make it my whole thing. I try not to preach it too much. Now, I do have some videos talking about demonic times. So, it's not something I shy away from. But if it isn't your thing, I'm not going to condemn you for such, because we all have the right to come to our own conclusions. One of the amendments is about freedom of and from religion, especially here in America. So if religion's not your thing, I don't blame you. And for a while, religion wasn't my thing, because I was a Catholic when I started out, and I was among one of many of the kids who was disillusioned. Now, upon my departure, it happened around college. Now, I was by no means a perfect person. However, what came to my understanding was that I never had a lot of resentment. Even when I was kind of like deistic, pantheistic, agnostic, I would never go on these internet message boards and join the internet atheism movement and try to own Christianity. And, I never came from a place of hurt. I just came from a place of understanding where this is the state of the church. It was filled with ego, which, if you understand Christianity, pride is the deadliest of sins, and those people lived by pride. A lot of them thought that they were in their own little groups, and they would always live by double standards. You talk to someone who was outside of our religion, but they would talk to people who was outside of their religion. But it's different when they do it. They're the head honcho in charge. They like the worship from the church clergy and all that stuff. The choir members love the worship, always putting each other down, lots of drama. And children of Christ should not be that way. But a lot of, lukewarm Christians turned me away from it. But there's a saying I actually came back to where it's like, you never believed in God, you believed in the people. And you know what? That was right. In Christianity, you have to have, like, I know this is hallmark and you hear it all the time, a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. But moving on, now that I've been doing this non-denominational thing for a couple years, because I got rebaptized in 2021, because a Muay Thai instructor actually took me to his church, and it was a much better fit for a while. I had moved on, and I had become to a better understanding of it. And I think that it's that lack of understanding of the full scripture that does cause a lot of people to point the finger at the church and, hypocrisy. Now, if you actually know the full scripture of this whole thing, you will realize that, a lot of people who go to church are hypocritical regardless, how they don't operate off of normal means. But that's why I like what Dry Creek Wrangler School is doing. And this video is specifically a support message for him and guys like him, because there's a lot of scripture that I feel like has been watered down and fed to the public for a while, and then things that I didn't even know. And then when I learned about them, I was able to look at it in a better light. For example, there's a lot of examples. If I went through the whole of scripture and talked about the contradictions or the watered downness that, were put over our heads. In all of Sermon of the Mount, one of the most left out parts is don't cast pearls before swine and don't give dogs what is holy. Meaning don't give people who don't appreciate things good things, because they will take advantage of it. And That is why when I see Dry Creek Wrangler School go on and actually put more context into Scripture, you don't have to believe like we do. In fact, I really want people, if they want to make that decision to come to Jesus Christ, they got to do it on their own free will and accord. But a lot of people forget that. A lot of people forget that when Jesus Christ walked into the temple and saw that they were using the temple as a bank, he flipped tables. He said, "I have had enough of this garbage." And a lot of people think that being Christian is just turning the other cheek. And in some senses, yeah, you got to take the high road and not give in to anger. But also, Jesus says that if you do not, own a sword, you should sell your cloak and buy one, just in case. But he does also warn us, if you live by the sword, you do die by the sword. And it's like context like that, like layer on top of layer, that hasn't been given to the public. And just like what Dry Creek Wrangler School was talking about with forgiveness, and how he talked about how you forgive someone who comes to you and admits their wrongdoings. That is number one, because you can't, obviously in some counter arguments, forgiveness is for us. And I don't think a lot of people are saying just because you forgive someone, you have to let them back in. Because I wrestled with that with a lot, where a lot of people would put another burden on me after someone had wronged me. And I didn't feel comfortable having these people that have proven that they are not responsible with the feelings or boundaries of others. And it felt like a lot of people were trying to force me or just telling me to get over it and leaving me open for them to mess with me again. And that's not something that you should do to anyone. I'm not a victim blamer. I'm not someone who invalidates the way somebody feels. In fact, resentment, anger, although they're not things we should live by, they are part of the human condition, and it's healthy to acknowledge the negative aspects of our existence, because human beings are fundamentally imperfect. Because I watched that Dry Creek Wrangler School video of forgiveness, and I was right on. Yeah, if they come to you and ask for forgiveness, yes. But they have to do it freely and willingly. They willingly and freely have to be sorry for what they've done. Because then you are putting too much of a burden on someone and asking too much of anybody to just take the high road and put more burden of people's wrongdoings. Because we are in this life, I feel, to grow and to make mistakes so we could at least learn from them. And you can't learn if you don't make mistakes. So I think forgiveness, it should be there. But also, the thing I want to conclude this video, because I don't want to talk for too long, and it has been early morning, I'm making this right out of bed. To Dry Creek Wrangler School, it has he started his own Bible channel where he's talking in depth more about Scripture. And it's good because he has realized that a lot of people use Scripture to gatekeep, and I've had those people in my life before. And it doesn't help the cause if you want people to at least hear out the message, not necessarily come to it, but if you're looking for people to at least hear it out and honestly sort through the information, you're doing a disservice by having all these gatekeepers who force people to forgive when they're not ready to, who force people to allow people to wrong them, because it's what Jesus would have wanted, but Jesus himself said, don't cast your pearls before swine, and he's going to say, "Depart from me, ye who practice lawlessness, for I never knew you." So this whole doctrine of, God's automatically going to forgive us and all that stuff, you could tell just by those two alone that doesn't hold up. And he's right about the gatekeeping. But now that he's upset the gatekeepers and he keeps on steamrolling with some really in-depth content that I recommend you check out that if you want more, or check out his normal everyday videos where he gives young people the guidance I feel like they aren't currently having, whether they want to be religious or not. I just hope he keeps making these videos because it's good to have actual authentic voices who don't want people to misunderstand the message. And I hope Dwayne keeps going with this because you will face some prosecution. Obviously, you will have people who will hate you for spreading the message. Not everybody, but you will catch some hate, and he's catching hate from, I feel like, all the right people. He's having the conversations that need to be had, not the easy ones. But Dwayne, if you ever by any chance watch this, keep it up because I like what you're doing, man. And you are the guide I feel a lot of young people don't have. And if out of 500 people, you get 5 people to live a godly life, to find a wife, to raise a family, to live a prosperous future, then you've done your job. And that's all we could ask. Peace out.